We're going to make it very easy. But the mail-in ballots, you see what happens in California. The vote still isn't counted. Can you believe it? It's like, what, 6 weeks? The vote still isn't counted. But the kid really, he was Spencer Pratt. I don't know Spencer Pratt. He came to the White House and saw me. But Spencer Pratt was an automatic lock, and he didn't make it. There was a little thing, Dina. They said, well, Spencer's falling behind a woman that nobody ever heard of. He's falling behind. No, it's very corrupt. And they were going to do that to Steve Hilton, too. And I had the U.S. attorney, did a great job. He started an investigation. They said, Steve Hilton is starting to fall badly behind. And I said, that doesn't mean falling behind. That means cheating is going on. This is 2 weeks after the election. So I got the U.S. attorney involved. And like 20 minutes after they made that statement, they said, Steve Hilton just made the runoff. These are crooked people. These are crooked people. The whole thing is terrible.
Tonight, we're taking a closer look at ballot harvesting.
They call it ballot harvesting.
Ballot harvesting. Ballot harvesting can be one of the most confusing and contentious ways to cast a ballot.
Now, what is ballot harvesting? Well, first off, it's illegal in normal states. But in California, it's perfectly legal. Ballot harvesting is when you terminate the chain of custody that is meant to ensure secure voting. And it gives non-election officials, including employees of the candidates, legal access to your ballot to do whatever they want with it.
The practice involves a third party picking up a ballot a voter has filled out and dropping it off at a drop box or an elections department. Ballot harvesting could lead to someone voting in place of someone else, or allow a third party to tamper with or throw out ballots.
It used to be restricted to just immediate family members. California opened it up to anybody.
Prior to 2013, a voter had to be ill or disabled for someone else to return a ballot for them. And they had to be a family member or from the same household. After 2013, you no longer had to be sick or disabled. If you wanted a member of your household to return your ballot, they could. In 2016, the law changed again, so anyone could return your ballot, and there was no limit on how many ballots they could turn in.
So they don't want anything to get in the way of their ballot harvesting operation. This is their playbook. It's been their playbook for decades.
As President Trump teasing his primetime speech set for tomorrow night, two administration officials have told MS Now that the speech will focus on voting machine security and alleged foreign efforts to influence U.S. elections. The text of the speech is not final, but Trump is expected to release a declassified intelligence documents on both of those subjects. The officials tell MS Now it's not clear if Trump will present any credible new evidence, specifically regarding claims of interference during the 2020 election. We will once again note that extensive intel reviews under both the Trump and Biden administrations found no basis for claims that the 2020 election was stolen. We do know, though, that 4 years earlier, Russia certainly did meddle in the 2016 elections to Trump's benefit.
Congressman, Donald Trump is scheduled to give a big rant to spew election conspiracy theories on Thursday. Do you think that TV networks should run it? Do they have an ethical obligation?
A big ad?
Rant, like a speech. He's basically doing made-for-TV broadcasts about election fraud and conspiracy theories and all the rest on Thursday.
I don't think that we should be contributing to any platforming of lies about our election, and so I think that, many news outlets oftentimes may receive transcripts, and I think that we have an ethical obligation to not air things that undermine our election, that are not rooted in evidence and fact.
So they want to censor the president. These people are insane.
And so, of course it depends on the contents of his speech, but that's my take on it.
Let me ask you this. Yeah. Why is it that large population centers, like places like Los Angeles and New York, are almost always run by the Democrats?
Yeah.
Like, what is it about, first of all, what happened with the last election in Los Angeles, just the primary, I think was
crazy.
So super sus.
Yes,
and here's why it's super sus. Not just super sus that Spencer Pratt, who was in second place, got overtaken by Nithya Raman in the mail-in ballots, but that the mail-in ballots also passed a tax hike. The people voted to pay more taxes.
Yep.
in a state where you have the highest taxes.
That's right.
They're like, we don't pay enough. That is insane. Then when you have direct evidence that they were recruiting homeless people.
That's right.
And they were getting homeless people and giving them cigarettes and cash. There's evidence of this. To use their address and mail in ballots.
Yeah, I wouldn't be the Californian Joe who wakes up in the morning and says, you know what, I'm going to go and vote for higher taxes.
I don't
pay enough taxes.
I feel like we could fix this if I just pay 5%
more taxes. The crazy thing about it too is it's that, okay, so after the initial ballots all came in, it was Karen Bass was number 1, Spencer Pratt was right behind her, and then number 3, whatever this woman's name is, Nithya Raman. Okay, so you would expect the mail-in ballots to be more or less like the original ballots in terms of 1, 2, and 3. I'm not saying Spencer Pratt's going to win the mail-in ballot, but it just so happened that the third place person in relative terms did a lot better than the first and second place person.
Disproportionately better.
Such that the Republican was actually kicked out of the race so that there's not actually a real election in California. That to me was the crazy part. It's like you were designing the vote share in order to kick Pratt out and put the third person into second place. That to me is like very, very bizarre. Because what is the theory of the mail-in vote that is somehow like so much more pro-Nithya relative to Karen Bass?
Makes no sense.
Makes no sense.
Makes no sense. Why would it be?
Yeah.
Why would it be? I mean, Karen Bass was ahead by every metric.
Yeah.
I remember being in the military, and I remember being stationed in Norfolk. The only people that ever did absentee ballots when I grew up was just people that were not able to actually go to the ballot booth themselves. So the military votes were always cast, and typically would show up 2 or 3 weeks after the election was over and not get counted, which was an embarrassment alone. This is why the SAVE Act is so important. The SAVE Act, and there's actually a YouTube video of a Democrat on camera saying, if the SAVE Act passes, a Democrat will never win an election ever again. Why? Well, the why is because it's cheating. If American Idol can count 37 million votes in one evening, and they're still counting the votes in California for come on, people. Let's be honest here. No one buys that. And talking about stolen elections, Stacey Abrams is still saying that 2 elections were stolen from her. Mm-hmm. So it's ridiculous. But the whole idea is that Republicans are real good at this, but they won't take up their cross and actually get involved. A Democrat loses an election and the city burns down. Is that the answer? No. But when blatant cheating happens, blatant ballot harvesting happens, and all we do is go, I don't like that. That was awful. Well, what are you going to do about it? Say something, do something about it. I mean, it's ridiculous that 40% of the population of California is going to sit back and just do nothing. Can they do anything? I don't know, but it just seems kind of ridiculous that every election these Democrats keep on Wisconsin, New York City. It goes over to. Wake me when somebody goes to jail. Wake me when somebody gets charged. At least,
I don't believe that these Democrats really have the numbers to win these statewide elections. And I don't even think the issue, although they did say that Nithya Raman, most of her mail-in ballot vote did come from the Skid Row area. So it is true that a lot of those homeless people were being paid, or at least were casting ballots, possibly even multiple ballots. But the issue for me is I think the worst thing that has happened, even worse than the birthright citizenship, is this being able to count ballots days after an election. There is a built-in automatic advantage if you're able to do that, because what you're able to do is look at the vote share that a person has. And once you know the vote share that they have, you know how many votes you need to come in days after election to upset the count. And that's exactly what they did with Spencer Pratt. They let all his vote share come in on election day, and they said, okay, 334,000, great. We need 340. How many do we have? We have 300. Okay, let's go and find 40,000 votes that we can mail in days and days and 10 and 15 days later, and they're still counted. That is not a fair election. And the fact that the Supreme Court upheld that, to me, is a disaster. We have got to find another way to go back and re-petition for that, because that is that's wrong for anybody. Republicans could do that. If a Democrat was, all we'd have to do is sit back and then finally learn how to harvest some ballots, and then you can upset the count. Nobody can win when that kind of thing happens. So I think we're really going to have to repetition that. Our only recourse for right now is we're going to have to demand the passing of the SAVE Act. The reason 40% of California sat back and watched that and do nothing is because they're afraid and demoralized, which is what happens in plantation living. Plantation living is not about Black people. Plantation living is about liberals. You can do anything in front of a liberal and they can't say anything because they're afraid. They know they're overlords. They know the conditions that they live under, and they know the deals they made. You get to live in the most expensive places for the highest salaries generally anywhere in the country, but in exchange for that, silence and compliance is what they get. So they're not going to speak out. They're not going to speak out. And people traded their liberty and their agency that they got from God for beaches and never below 70-degree balmy weather. Okay, well, that's what you get. But I think that we're going to have to demand, just because they're demoralized, we, the rest of the country, cannot be. We are going to have to demand the passage of the SAVE Act. And it's not hard to do. Everybody who thinks that there needs to be a fair election among Americans only, citizens only, all you have to do is call your congressperson and you can leave a message. You don't have to talk to anybody. Just say, I wanted to leave a message. Unless you vote yes on the SAVE Act, I'm not voting for you again. Thank you for your time. Hang up. That's it. If everybody did that, the SAVE Act will pass by next week.
I'm with you on that. Flip side of that, though, is that we need the other 75% of eligible voters to get out and vote. I'm so sick and tired of these elections, coming and going. And then we find out that only 10 or 15% or 20% of the actual eligible voter base decided to actually get out and vote. And then they complain after the fact. That is a problem, but that is something that has happened election season after election season after election season. We have too many people that are just like, they passing the buck. That needs to change as well. And as far as the people out in California that voted for that additional 5% tax, that right there in itself just makes absolutely no sense to me. And that's enough right there. Just that alone is enough to say, you know what? Something's fishy about this.
That's right. It should be a crime for any state to pass policies that permit and encourage crime. I mean, it just should be should be a law against that because this is so obvious. It's right in your face, and no one's doing anything about this. We can't just call it corruption because it's legal in their state. And so we have to tailor our argument rather than calling it corruption and playing into the hands of them, and they can say it's not corrupt because it's legal. Let's deal with the actual policy itself, and there should be a protest, a major protest that this is clearly criminal. I mean, ballot harvesting is clearly corrupt, and we should deal with that and keep it in their faces and I think that this should be started by the people, that 40% Californians over there, Republicans or independents. They should be the ones start leading the charge on this. This should be marches throughout the streets. This is not going down like this anymore. So unless they do that, what is other states complaining going to do?
The Lord also said in Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 7, and work for the peace and prosperity of the city where I sent you into exile. Pray to the Lord for its welfare will determine your welfare. Why am I saying this? Because I'm not even talking to the Republicans. I'm talking to the Christians. They have convinced you because of Marxism and all that. They've convinced you that you aren't supposed to be involved in politics. And because you spend so much time listening to man and not listening to God, that is why you accepted that foolishness. Because if you understand that Moses, all the way through, Moses, Joseph, Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, Esther, David, everyone was in politics.
Yep.
Everyone was in politics. And politics is about the state of your government, because this is the state of the people. This is what this is about. So you're supposed to be involved. You're not supposed to just sit there and do nothing. But y'all like to sit there and say, well, we are just sojourning through. Yeah, okay, you want to say that? Then we are exiled in this space right now. And we are supposed to be praying for the welfare of this place, because it will determine the welfare of us. So when you say that to try and sound so holier than thou, you actually make yourself sound stupid. You actually do. As my daddy always would say, don't be so smart that you're stupid, because that's literally what you are. Now, the thing is, we want to see Republicans do stuff, but we have to remember they're in the bed too with some of these Democrats. So we have to remember that.
Yeah.
And that is why it's not about Republican, Democrat. It is about paying attention and asking God for wisdom on how you're supposed to vote, who you're supposed to support. I mean, let's be real. I'm with Joe Rogan on that. Who goes around and says, I wake up in the morning and says, you know what? I vote that we should pay more taxes. That in itself should have made everybody say, this ain't real. This isn't real. All I'm saying is the system is so corrupt, only God can fix it. I'm being so real. The only one that can fix it is God. And I know people are like, well, God wants to do. Yes, he would. But that is why we are supposed to reach out and be praying about these things instead of sitting down here and saying, I'm just journeying through. When they decide to make policies that attack Christians and jail Christians and persecute Christians and unalive Christians, then you're going to realize, oh, we were supposed to be involved the entire time. That is why y'all need to stop with the foolishness and open up the word of God and stop listening to those people that are on pulpits who don't know God. That is why whenever you hear me speak in my Bible study, when you hear Pastor Mitchell, when you hear so many, do not just believe me. Pick up the word and have a relationship with God for yourself. Because if you did, you wouldn't say the foolishness that you do, and you would get up and do something instead of sitting down there and saying, well, we have faith. Faith without works. You're actually supposed to do something, not just sit there.
But I want to take it a step further. Even if the word of God, even if the Bible did not speak on our role or the role that we should play in politics, do you not pay taxes in this country? Do you not send your kids off to these schools that the government runs? Are you just supposed to just sit back and let these people just run over and do anything and did any and everything to you? You're just supposed to sit back and just, hey, I'll just wait for Jesus to come. Really? That's a cop out. That is a lazy way of thinking. It's ridiculous that people even think like this.
Jeff made a great point. And as soon as I hear anything about coming from the stereotypical left, atheist, secular individuals about, you're just lying about election fraud. He only uses this as a defense mechanism, objectively speaking, right? Whether you're on the left, whether you're on the right, whether you think Orange Man is bad or you're one of those individuals that thinks he's the second coming, which you shouldn't. Objectively speaking, we have found footage of ballots thrown in the trash, right? What do your eyes tell you? If that happens in just one location, I'm one of those extreme people that says redo the entire election because it means that there is some kind of fraud happening. But if you're saying that Trump is just this horrible, awful individual, to Jeff's point, to this day, Stacey Abrams has never conceded her election. She said that they can go ahead and certify her, but she never once conceded. But more so, y'all's actual messiah over here, Hillary Clinton, she is one of the first ones to come out and even mention the idea of an election being stolen. Her words, not mine. Here's a full quote. You can run the best campaign, you can even become the nominee, and you can have the election stolen from you. She says that Trump, I quote, he knows he's an illegitimate president, end quote. Right. So look, y'all, pick a side. Pick a side, right? Either you care about elections and you care about them being done properly, or you don't. But don't just get upset about it whenever your person's not in the office. This goes for both sides of the aisle, to be crystal clear. We should all agree that elections should be scrutinized much more than they have been. They should be scrutinized every single time there's an election. It should be an outside party that comes in and looks at it. We should be able to see every single result of whatever report goes into that, because if not, you don't have the confidence that your vote matters. And in the United States of America, the way our government is set up, the people are in charge, not the president, not Congress, not the Supreme Court. It is the people. So when your vote is not guaranteed to go where it needs to go, You have a right to hear about that information. This is destroying our country from the inside out. And the fact that we are allowing it to happen really makes me wonder, what happened to the Americans that would tar and feather the politicians? What happened to the Americans that had an absolute revolution over a fraction of the taxes that we pay today? What happened to the Americans that believed that they were the ones running the country? What happened to the Americans that actually cared more about the people living in their neighborhood than they did about the blue or the red?
I want to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts on any of this? Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, turn the notifications on to all so you never miss an upload. Consider joining the ARP family or buy your brother a coffee. That link's in the description box below. And as always, keep God first. Stay prayed up. We'll catch up with you guys next time. Peace.
It is God who arms me with strength. Yeah, I'm battle ready. He trains my hands for battle. My heart stays steady. But thanks be to God, he gives us the victory. Through my Lord Jesus Christ, fear can't live in me. I was down to the dirt, red clay on my shoes, old pain in my shirt, oh so bruised. And the Lord hit my chest, kicked death from my breath, put power in my step.